Hey guys, I want to say before we start this Q&A with Di and I, a couple things. First off, we are sitting apart because of the social distancing. Hey guys, I want to say that would be really handy if you would turn that off.
I can't turn it off.
Help us all.
Anyways, I also want to mention that there is a possibility that I might have to run out halfway through this. We're doing our giveaway of food out in our church parking lot. And if there's anything urgent that I have to be involved in, my staff's going to run in and grab me and I'll head out there. But just want to explain, Di and I are sitting apart because of the social distancing, even though we live together. I also want to mention that today is Di's birthday. Di turned 30 today.
Yes.
So everybody that's here, so there's just maybe 4 or 5 people that are helping with this filming. We are going to sing her happy birthday that in lieu of Chris forgetting to turn that thing off, he gets to lead us in. So Chris, lead us in a rousing rendition of happy birthday.
Nope.
No, seriously, we're honoring Di. Go ahead.
Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Di. Happy birthday to you.
I love attention.
Okay, since every store has been closed, I got Di a can of Cherry Coke Zero
Just what I
on
always
behalf
wanted.
of the staff.
Budget cuts. Okay, so welcome to our Popcast today. We are going to be interviewing Brandon Di. You are going to be able to write in any question that you want. I've already had so many questions, but first I want to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to start asking you guys favorites. And I don't want you to think about it. I want you to just come up with the first thing that comes up on the top of your head. So first, favorite car.
My current car, Audi Q5.
I don't want to say.
Is it a Prius?
I have much more expensive taste. I got to be honest, my favorite car is a Maserati right now.
Nice.
Tesla, close second.
Okay. Favorite vacation.
That we've been on? Okay. Ooh, I'm going to say Hawaii. When we took our entire family, all sides of the family, big family trip.
Yeah, I would say the Hawaii trips. We tend to go everywhere, so every vacation's a favorite in its own right.
Favorite color.
I'm so lame. White.
Black.
Maybe gray sometimes.
Black is beautiful.
Favorite book of the Bible.
Haggai. The well-read book of Haggai.
Yeah, it is.
Look it up. It's actually a book in the Bible. It's good.
I've never been, I don't know, axe?
Okay. Favorite meal.
My dad's spaghetti.
I'm going to go with pretty much anything Thai food related, but specifically from Opal Thai on Oahu, the radish cakes appetizer, which sounds so gross, but they are spectacularly good.
Favorite sport.
Football.
Soccer.
Favorite athlete.
Oh my gosh.
My children.
Favorite athlete. Muhammad Ali.
Okay. Favorite dessert.
Cake.
Anything peanut butter. Peanut butter, anything. It is a dessert in and of itself.
So now you know what to get Di. Peanut butter.
Yeah, it's a close second to Cherry Coke Zero.
Okay. Or Di wants cake. Preferably white cake with chocolate frosting.
I don't eat cake, but he did ask for cake today for my birthday.
Favorite ice cream flavor.
I don't like ice cream.
Peanut butter.
You don't like ice cream? At all?
I mean, I will eat it because it's sugary, but
I thought you liked milkshakes and stuff, no? Oh.
you're thinking of Tony.
Okay. Coffee of choice.
Like your drink of
Yeah,
choice?
like what do you order?
Americano with a little bit of coconut milk.
I also don't like coffee. but I will get a cold brew simply out of habit.
Okay. Favorite kid.
Kona, my dog.
Favorite kid. All my children, whichever one is being nice at any given moment.
Okay, now I'm going to give you two choices. You have to pick one or the other. Pizza or hamburgers?
Hamburgers.
Pizza.
Hawaii or Vegas?
Hawaii.
Depends on the mood. Where do I want to go right now? I'd rather go to Vegas right now.
Aussie
Probably
or
Vegas.
Kona?
Kona.
Probably Kona.
What? Ozzy's your dog.
He chews stuff.
Ozzy eats everything, but only the things that I put away in their rightful place. He doesn't eat all the things that are left out on the floor. He goes into our room, into my closet, and eats my shoes. So Ozzy is his dog.
He has also single-handedly eaten half my house and just probably lowered the property value of my house by $30,000. And I chose Kona. I rescued Kona from the puppy farm.
Okay, heights or spiders?
Which do I prefer?
No, most afraid of.
Spiders, for sure.
Neither.
Okay. Playing or coaching?
Which we prefer. Coaching.
I mean, I loved playing when I was in shape, and I didn't have a surgically repaired shoulder. I like coaching now.
Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Breakfast.
Disneyland or Universal?
Disneyland.
Disneyland.
Movies
We agreed on something.
movies or TV?
Neither. Kettlebells?
I love them both.
Okay. You have to pick one here, Brandon. This is specifically for you. I have one specific for Di.
Jesus.
Raiders or Seahawks?
Oh my gosh.
Seahawks.
Probably right now it would be 50.5% Seahawks over 49.5% Raiders.
Okay, this one's for Di. Kettlebell or hiking?
Kettlebell, for sure.
Okay. So right now there are a bunch of different questions that people have written to us over the past couple weeks, and so I want to get into those. The first one is, we're going to start with fun and then get more serious as the time goes. What app on your phone would surprise us? Like if I was to grab your phone and flip through, what app would I go, oh, that's funny. I didn't think you would have Ticket to Ride the app game on your phone.
Sadly, I probably wouldn't have anything that would surprise you. I have an interval timer for working out, but you might expect that. I don't know.
Do you have like a game on your phone that you
No.
play? Okay.
I don't have any app that a 49-year-old man wouldn't have.
Do you have an app on your phone that a 29-year-old man would have?
I'm trying to
Snapchat. I have Snapchat on my phone.
There you
I
go.
think the strangest thing I have on my phone is Slack.
That he doesn't use, so he
Doesn't
never
use.
knows what our staff is actually talking about.
Yeah, Slack. I also have the Lime bike thing. I think that's probably unique. I like the Lime scooters in other countries.
That's funny. What made you fall in love with each other?
Oh my gosh.
Like, when was the moment that you realized I'm in love with Di Beals?
You get to go first on this one.
Or Di?
Well, when I met Di, I actually had a girlfriend. So Reader's Digest version of the story. Di, we were in English Psych 101, and I worked at a bank, so I would always sit in the back of the classroom and I would wear a suit because I had to go to work right after class. And Di, one day before a test, asked me if I would study with her and her friends. And so I figured, oh, dumb blonde, saw a guy with suit, assumed I was smart, wants to study with me, so I gave her my phone number. And I'd totally forgotten about it, went to work, went on my week, and didn't have it. And on the weekend, I get this phone call from this strange, but this is back when people like had to call you at your house. And so you'd pick up the phone, and my best friend from high school, whenever he would, this is so like borderline inappropriate. Whenever he would flirt with girls, he would give out my number instead and pretend and say, oh, I'm Brandon, and give out my number. So then he never had to follow up. And so I would frequently get phone calls from girls that thought they were calling my best friend and were, ended up with me. So this girl calls, I think, oh, Jeff did this again. And so I have this conversation with her for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, now you got to explain to me exactly who you are.
No, 3 times in the conversation he said, now, who are you again? Wait, who are you?
Yeah. And anyways, when I finally figured it out, I found out she lived like 5 minutes from my parents' house. So I drove over to her house and we ended up studying. And from that moment on, I was like, I would say I was intrigued by this girl. And so on my password at the bank, I changed my password from that day forward to Di and I. And the rest is history.
My side of the story is that I had never seen him in our class before, but he actually raised his hand to participate in discussion. And the girl next to me turned around and waved at him. And I said, who is that? Because he's cute. And she said, all I know is his name is Brandon, and he lives off campus, and he works at a bank, and I dare you to get his phone number. And I could not say no to a dare. So I got his phone number, and then I was really proud of myself because I made up something about studying together, which apparently he didn't buy anyway. And then she said, well, now I dare you to actually call him. So then we talk on the phone for an hour, and in there he keeps saying, who are you again? So I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. But we did hang out, and I think one of the days that I came to your work and saw that you had changed your password to Di and I was like, oh, wow, that just got way more serious right there. But I had never met a guy that loved Jesus as much as him, and that's what I love the most. So even if it wouldn't have been him, he set the bar so high for who I would ever consider dating after that.
So I was sharing this when I did the Pastors in Cars Getting Donuts, that I think we started hanging out, and then maybe like 2 months later we started dating. And in the first probably 6 months we were dating, we broke up 3 times.
Wait. You broke up with me 3 times.
But that was, and people always say, like, people hear that because they put Di on like this pedestal. And so they hear, you broke up with Di, you're terrible. And it was because she wasn't spiritual enough. Oh. I was like that really wild, crazy kid who'd just gotten saved, would stand on the street corner, preach, offend people all the time. That was me. And then I was dating this girl that was kind of, I would perceive as very lukewarm. And so we kept breaking up.
My first day of school at Bible college, one of my professors was describing what we were going to learn in Bible class. And you're going to learn about the prophets and the kings, and you're going to learn all about, the history of the Bible. And if this doesn't interest you, you should just pack up your stuff and go to the office and drop this class. So I did, right then, in the middle of class. That was my condition at that point in time.
Wow. One of the things that was interesting about Di and I is we pretty much, I would say, by the fourth time we got back together, we pretty much knew we were going to get married, and we actually started doing ministry together at her Lutheran Brethren church that she had gotten saved in and was a part of. Like we were 19, and we were doing youth ministry, and so we were serving along in ministry. Pretty much knew we were going to get married, but we dated for 3 years before we got married. So every single birthday, Christmas, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Boxing Day in Canada, it didn't matter. All of the girls at Northwest would say, did he propose yet? Did he propose yet? Did he propose yet? So I was like the lamest dude there, because all of my friends met a girl in October and were engaged by December and married by June. And I kept telling her that I didn't want to get married till I was finished with grad school.
How did you propose? I don't even think I've heard that. I've known you for 18 years now?
I promised Nicole Croy. So Nicole, if you ever watch this is for you. So Nicole Croy asked if I would tell more Hope Lutheran Brethren stories. So I had this
I was the youth pastor and Brandon was my assistant.
I was a great assistant youth pastor. So I bought the ring, and any guy who's married, you know what it's like. You buy the ring with the intent, okay, I'm going to propose in several months, but as soon as you have the ring, you've made the decision. You're like, I just want to do this. So I bought the ring, and then I was going to wait till our youth retreat, which was 2 months later, and I couldn't wait. So our services were on Thursday night, so I orchestrated this whole thing. I was speaking at the service. I got my sister to come, and she was filming under the auspice of she had to record a sermon for one of her classes to critique it. So my sister was there videotaping it. And I actually hadn't told the students or anything, and I preached this sermon, and it was terrible. I already wasn't very good back then to begin with because I was 19 and didn't really know anything about the Bible because I hadn't been saved very long. So I was talking about how much God loved the Israelites, and it was a really boring sermon.
And you just went on and on.
And then I started transitioning the sermon. So I'm doing this in front of everybody. And I started transitioning to the sermon into how I loved Di. And so I was comparing God loving the Israelites to me loving Di, and Di's getting all embarrassed. And then I started walking over to her, and she thought I was going to give her flowers. And then Nicole Croy, who is a part of our church now, which is super cool.
No, it was Kirsten. Kirsten Lee. Kirsten Lee, if you're watching. Kirsten Nordvet. She was sitting behind me as Brandon was approaching, and she said, oh, he's going to propose. And you can see my face on the video go, oh, it hadn't even dawned on me.
I was giving Nicole all the credit. I still think it was you, Nicole.
Nicole
you
was
can
there.
correct us or not.
She was there.
It's like that scene in Big Daddy.
So I was preaching a sermon and proposed.
Yeah. Okay. Another question that
Chris
we've got.
wasn't impressed.
No, I thought it was super impressive.
It's the least. Even the
Not
camera
by
guys are
today's
like,
standards.
whatever.
Today's standards, you have to go to the top of a skyscraper and have like
Hey,
a plane
back
fly
then
by
that was
and-
epic. Like
Yeah.
back then,
They were
you'd
very
like do
poor
dinner
back
with
then.
somebody, pull out a ring, and
Yeah.
say, "Let's get
That was
married,"
how
and
we
people
were,
would
though.
clap in the restaurant.
It makes sense that we would get engaged with our youth students.
Yes.
Like ministry was so us that it just made sense.
Yep.
No. This person said that you're super successful with so many areas of your life. What's a main attribute that you have that you think that, I mean, besides God and, your relationship with him, but what is something that you have about you that helps you to be successful?
I would say mine is tenacity. I don't quit. There's no quit in me. I just don't quit. I get mad if quitting is even an option. So I won't quit. I will go. I will die trying before I will quit.
Yeah, I would say that's the similar attribute that both of us have, is that we never say die. And so we are tenacious, we don't quit, we don't give up. I would say we outlast everybody. I mean, it's evidenced by the fact that I've been a minister for almost 30 years. I had 2 youth ministry jobs, and I've been a senior pastor at one church. Where in the 15 years that I've been here, I have many friends, they're on their 3rd or 4th senior pastorate, and we never say die.
That's
No
good.
pun intended.
No. With everything that's going on right now, and what would you tell someone about being a neighbor now? I mean, we have to keep distance now, but we're all at home. What does it look like for the church to be a good neighbor? What advice would you give?
I mean, I would say one of the things that was really cool is, part of living in Seattle, what's interesting is the infamous Seattle freeze. And if you've lived here for any length of time, it's hard to argue, especially if you've lived anywhere else, that like really exists. Mm-hmm. And part of it is because people move from neighborhood to neighborhood, and so you never stay any place long enough to really get to know your neighbors. So we've lived in our neighborhood for about maybe 6 years, 7 years, and I would say we are familiar with our neighbors, and I would say that's the way our neighbors would all say about each other. They're all familiar with each other, but nobody really knows each other. And I thought it was really cool that one of the new families in our neighborhood kind of gathered all of the neighborhood kids together, and they drew these really cool pictures and gave them out to all the neighbors, just put them on all of our doorsteps, and they said things like peace and love. And so then as you drive home, all of our neighbors have these pictures that these little kids drew in their windows, and it's just kind of a way for us to say, hey, we're here for you, we want to help. And I think that's the key, is you just want a relationship with your neighbors where they know, hey, you can ask for help if you need it, and we're just kind of there for each other.
I think I would just add that neighbor is such a it's not necessarily a specific term. It doesn't have to be people who live in your actual neighborhood, but being a neighbor is caring for other people. And so I've taken time over the past week to just send out text messages and emails to people as I think of them, wondering how they're doing. Especially, those of you that have received those messages, it might be as simple as, "Hey, I'm just thinking about you right now, making sure you're good. Anything I can do to help you?" Even if that's pray for you or help you with something. And I think that's part of it too, is just extending the thoughtfulness. We think of people a lot. We just don't always let them know we're thinking of them. So letting people know you're thinking about them, praying for them if they need it. Yeah.
I feel like people are craving community more than ever now, right? And do you think it's going to go back? Once everything goes back and economy bounces back and people are going back into their routines as they were before, do you think that we will shift back into that, or do you think that this will be something that stays, that it's not just a fad? I remember 9/11, I saw American flags everywhere, and then what was it, within 6 months all American flags were down, and it was just like life as normal and everyone's back to being about their day. Do you think the community stuff is still going to be as prevalent, or do you think it will go back?
Well, I'll say I hope that it stays this way with a love for community. I think our natural tendency is to slide back towards selfishness, if I put it that way. But I think we can make a difference. So if you're watching this, we can change that. There are enough of us, Venture Church and friends of Venture Church, that we can bring change that lasts, and that requires us leading the way in reaching out and including and loving people. And right now we have to be creative about that, and I think that creativity is going to stick around, but it can't be all. It can't be once we're free to leave our homes, now we just have online content for people to come watch. It has to be, we take advantage of the opportunity to hug someone again and be in each other's lives, but we'll still have this creative piece of us that I think is going to live on, which is just an asset in the arsenal.
So tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing an interview at 6 o'clock with a number of people, and it's kind of the last interview we'll be doing before the shelter at home. And in this interview, one of the people is the president of Northwest University. His name's Joe Castleberry. And I've heard him say twice, I'm going to totally misquote it, and I'm sure he'll say it tomorrow at 6, but he said, it's possible the world's probably never going to be the same again, but God has us here to pick up the pieces. And I don't think anything's ever going to be the same again, because never before has there been an illness that has swept across the world. And so people are going to be different, and I think what it's going to do is it's going to make people appreciate just being able to be together a lot more. Like I would predict, I think that from the moment the church is able to have people gather again together, I think for months no one's going to miss. Because something that maybe people took for granted, like I would say, I don't think there's very few of us that would argue with what I'm about to say. Regardless of where you stand politically, I don't think most of us would argue that we are, a month ago, we were in a better position than we'd ever been in our entire lives financially. I mean, our business was booming. People's 401ks were increasing. Their stock portfolio was exploding. I mean, everything was good. Interest rates were low. Their property values were increasing. Lowest unemployment rate like in my entire lifetime. So everybody was more blessed than they've ever been. And when that happens, it's easy to kind of take for granted the little things that you have in your life. I think people take for granted that God gives, God takes away, that everything we have is from God. And so we start thinking, look what I did, until it's gone. And then you take for granted all these things. I just think people that lived through this, that lived in this, are probably not going to take those things for granted anymore. And I think if they do, they're going to have so many friends around them that are going to say, hey, do you remember 2 years ago, we were all like worried that tomorrow we were all going to lose our jobs, and we were worried about being sick. And my hope and my prayer is that things don't ever go back to the way they were. I would say one other thing is I don't think church will ever be the same again, and church universal. And I think this has forced the church to shift into the 21st century, that we finally realize that our influence needs to be really important in our neighborhood. Like, our neighborhood really matters, and we need to have a really strong presence in our neighborhood, but it doesn't have to be limited there, that we have the opportunity to have influence way beyond that if we will do the simple thing by employing technology that everybody is on. I think probably in 2 years, every church will have an app, every church will be live streaming, every church will be doing things like this. It doesn't matter if you're a small church, large church, everybody's going to be doing this. It will be just kind of a normal part of your job. Like, every church will have a media guy. Every church will just have these things. It'll be just normal business moving forward. My personal opinion is that we will see the most rapid advancement of the gospel ever. And it'll all be because God took this tragedy, helped the church adapt. When everything was healed and our land was restored, this new adapted ministry paved the way for the gospel to reach the ends of the earth. That's what I think will happen. In Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Somebody.
What has been the most pleasant surprise out of this past couple weeks?
Besides what I just said?
Yep.
I
mean,
think
yours is what's to come in the future.
Yeah.
But what have you noticed over the past couple weeks where you're like, oh, that's a surprise?
I would say, like, I'll talk personally and with my team.
Okay.
I would say personally, I'm a visionary, I'm a dreamer, and the way that God has hardwired me, I always think 3, 6, 12 months ahead of time, 3 years ahead of time. And when we got stuck in this building program for 3 years, like every dream and vision, I just had to like shelve it and figure out how to manage, and I am a horrible manager. And so, we opened up the building and things are going really great, but I'm still trying to get all of that old Brandon out of the drawer that I had shoved away. And this just overnight, I felt like Jesus spoke to me. I felt like God gave me a mandate. We are to be a purveyor of hope and a bringer of distraction, that our church needs to pivot into being a production company, a humanitarian organization. I felt very crystal clear in my leadership. So I'd say personally, I feel like a leadership revival. So I'm sad for what I'm seeing around me, but I'm excited for that. And it is the most united that I've seen my team, like, I would say, since I was a youth pastor. I haven't had a vocational paid team that has been this united together, working together, collaborating together, serving each other, since I had a bunch of 20-year-olds volunteering to run a youth ministry in Modesto.
I don't know. I could add to that. My initial thought was the rally of our staff and volunteers and the desire to help and be tangible, practical, hands-on, the willingness to continue to touch people metaphorically or reach out to people, even though the natural tendency of most humans right now is, I just want to put my arms around everyone that's important to me and go shut them in my house and protect them. And I'm not saying we're being reckless at all, but I love that the hours we're putting in is producing something I'm really proud of. And it's not just the quality of it in camera standards, but the heart behind it and the thoughtfulness behind it and the creativity behind it and the fun. Even in the midst of all of this, sometimes here 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day, we're having so much fun doing creative stuff and watching each other just operate in new gifts and adapt to circumstances none of us could have prepared for. So sometimes I look back and I go, man, we didn't even realize when we were doing that, we were preparing ourselves for this. We just didn't know.
Yeah, I guess this is me answering a question that maybe you've wondered but didn't want to ask. Like, a lot of people are probably wondering, why aren't you guys staying at home? why didn't you stay at home to begin with? I was gearing up to go speak for John Bohr's church in Vegas, and in a week, everything changed. I mean, it shifted from I was going to go speak at his school, and his church is doing really well, to Vegas closed down all the schools. And so he had to pivot to a casino, condense into one service from his multiple service format. And the casino informed him that after that Sunday, they could meet again. And so I was hanging out like this friend that I deeply love. I love him and Priscilla. I mean, I'm looking and thinking they might not be able to have service again for months. This is their last time. And I looked at John and I said, "You want to speak, right? You don't want me to speak." And he's like, "No, I wanted you to," which I was honored, but I went there, and in the middle of worship, his place is packed. They all came. And while I was there, the Holy Spirit spoke to me. And I won't go into all the details of what the Lord, I really felt, spoke to me. But in the end, I felt like this was our moment. Like in every other thing that's happened, tragedy, challenge that our world has faced, this is the first time that, I mean, the world has always needed the church, but this is the first time where the church really needs to lead. And I described it this way to my team. I called it my "Your Country Needs You" speech. I said, we admire people that risk their lives to run into a burning building and rescue people, or people that are in the middle of a war-torn country and they go into the middle of a battlefield, risk their life to rescue wounded people and bring them out. Like, we watch those movies, we admire those people, they're heroic, we respect them, and we have them come speak at our conferences and all of that, and we've never been given that opportunity before. In fact, it's almost ridiculous to compare what we're doing to there. It's almost not fair. But I would say this is our moment. Yeah. Like, this is our moment to provide hope and rescue people. And I want to describe this for you. So as our governor has said, no more than groups of 250, no more than groups of 50, no more than groups of 10, we've pivoted every single time to the utter disappointment of everyone around here who all they want to do is help you. All they want to do is serve you. All they want to do is meet all the needs that you have. And we got to the point where we're at now, where we had to tell everybody, if you are not vital to us doing what we're currently doing, we need you to stay at home. Like, we can't bring in new people for our staff to interact with, anything. We just need to isolate it, and that's kind of what we had said. And to a person in tears, they were disappointed they couldn't come in and help, because they want to serve and they want to help. And I would say that atmosphere right now, it's contagious. Yeah. It honors Jesus. And I hope that gives you a small glimpse of why we're here right now. And as long as we are allowed to do this, we want to do these things for you. We want to give food out to our community. We want to help, because this is our time to run into a battlefield and help people that are wounded.
That's really good.
Mic drop.
Before we go, I have one more thing that I just, since I'm interviewing you guys right now, right here, a lot of people don't understand what took place last week on Tuesday when we made the pivot. And I want everyone to hear how we made the pivot from how we did business as usual around here to now we are like half production studio, half missions driven. Like, what was going on in your mind, and then walk them through that, because I think people are going to be asking you for a long time. What was your mindset like? When did you realize that we were going to do this? How did you get your team involved? They're going to be asking you all these questions. And for me, I've been around you for a long time, and I came home and I told my wife, I was like, this is one of the most exciting times that I've been around Brandon. And I've been around Brandon during a lot of exciting times, but I got to see him lead by the Holy Spirit was leading him. And now we're able to go into battle, and we're going to be able to do stuff that no one else is doing. And so I want you to talk to our congregation, talk to people out there, because you're going to get asked this question a lot. And I thought that they should be the first to hear it.
Yeah, I actually just got asked it today in a Zoom meeting interview thing that I did. So they get to hear it second. I would just say there's a caveat to everything that I just explained earlier, and I don't want to like dominate this, but I think the question is more geared to me. Yep. Beyond anything, I knew that it wasn't business as usual. And like as a church, like we get into the habit, we get into the routine. Our youth guy does youth stuff, kids does kids stuff, our small groups does small group. And like one of the things that we always tell everybody is we want you to help everybody, but stay in your lane. So everybody, it's just kind of business as usual. And overnight, we had nothing to do. Like half our staff, they really didn't have much to do. And what we were doing wasn't going to effectively meet the needs that our community had or the people in our church had. So it was actually on my flight home, I started thinking, we need to create online content, but at the same time, we need to be pastoral and shepherding, but it needs to look different. It's more of a relief organization, and that's kind of the way that I had described it. So I told the staff, I said, it's not business as usual. Our church is now a two-headed organization that is a production company on one side and a relief like shepherding missional organization on another side. You have to fit in each one of those categories, and we all serve together and we go for it. And it was kind of from that moment on. And I would say this, there are hundreds of churches in America doing the same type of thing that we are. So I would say the biggest shift is that this was just a pivot for us. And again, when God heals everything, we will go back to 90%, pastoral, shepherding, relief organization, and 10% production. But we'll probably add another video person in the years to come.
I would also say, and I've found myself saying this a few times over the past week or two, there's a difference between leading and reacting. Sometimes you can't help but react. If there was an earthquake right now, we'd all have to react to that because you can't predict it coming. But there are lots of times that you can lead and make a choice and take a step forward rather than waiting to be forced. And so that's the thing I appreciated the most about how Brandon was leading and how our staff was leading is we made the choice that even though at a particular moment 250 people were allowed to gather together, we were already thinking, how are we going to provide online content? Because even if it would have stayed at 250 people, there's plenty of people that just aren't going to come for fear or their immune system is low or whatever reasons. And so how are we going to keep those people engaged? And I think because that decision was made almost kind of aggressively and just right off the bat, that put us in a position to be front runners. And then you add that our state is really a front runner state. This was a ripple effect across the rest of our country. That has really put Washington, some of our churches in Washington really leading the way for churches across our nation who are looking to us for this courageous, we're going to make the call, we're going to go, we keep joking, we went from being regular old pastors 2 weeks ago to camera operators and running cords and doing interviews online and how do we talk to cameras and it's a totally different world, but it's so much fun and it's so good for us and we're adapting to it. And I think because that decision was made so clearly, so decisively, we just led the way for other people to go, how did you do that so fast? I think it felt really fast. Yeah. It was a pivot, and that's the word we keep using. We one direction, then pivot. And we like that word because it wasn't us reacting. It was us making a choice. Let's go in a different direction right now. And how could we do this awesome?
And, another thing I would encourage you with is it is our joy as a staff to encourage you, pray for you, help you in any way. And because we've been so connected via social media over the last couple weeks and online, I think more so than ever before, people are willing to say, hey, I need a pastor to talk to. I need some advice. I need some encouragement and just kind of reaching out. And I think I've probably talked to more of you or interacted with more of you in the last week, even as busy as we are with all this filming, than I probably have in the last year. And I just want you to, it is a joy of our life. It is our call to serve you. Mm-hmm. I don't care what time, you have permission to harass my staff until they go to sleep at night. Yeah. Because this is our moment to serve you and to provide hope for our community. And I can honestly tell you, Angela Craig, she leads a church that is just an online church. And I was on kind of this Zoom interview, and I was one of the people that was asked questions, and she was another one. And she said, once you transition to doing online church, she said, you just don't ever get to turn it off because people are connected to you on your phones. And I think we would agree, all my staff that's around here, I felt like I have been on the phone or texting or messaging, serving people until I went to sleep every single night. And as tiring as that is, it's very energizing. And anyways, I just want you to feel free. If you need encouragement, we're here for you.
That's true.
100% of the time.
Well, I just want to thank you guys. You guys lead so well, and it's been so much fun going through this with you guys and just seeing you guys lead us, and then we're able to lead as well, and you empowering us. And so that's all that we have today for today's Popcast. We went a little bit longer than normal, but hopefully this encouraged you and this brightened up your day a little bit. And so we'll see you later. Thanks.